Implementation. This is the final chapter, a very short chapter, but a very, very important chapter. When you implement, you have to take into account your four basic ideas that we've learned about here. Our activities, those are our policies, our procedures, our value chains. Our people, that we have the right people doing the right things. Our resources, making sure that we have the right resources at the right time. And the leadership, that we're doing the right things. The strategy, the parts of strategy is kind of like a bar stool. If you have what you need, it's good and everything's very solid, but you can have a wobbly strategy. If any of these things are out of whack, it'll upset the length of your bar stool legs. Okay, so make sure that you do this. All right, you should create an action plan. It's simply a list of what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, who's going to do it, and what is needed to do it. Okay, and if you will put together an action plan, it'll make the implementation of your strategy a lot easier and a lot more likely to succeed. It usually consists of the goals and the tasks, and it's just the same as a project management, basically. It's managed the same way. When you're setting your goals and objectives, remember to use SMART. They need to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Okay, now that realistic doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be a BHAG or stretch goals or stretch objectives. But when you're writing your objectives, remember these 5 things. One of the most important things is to write it down. Don't just let it fiddle around in your head somewhere. If you write it down, you can see if you're on track. Let's talk about how we create the action plan. First, you have to determine your objectives, your goals, and your tasks. Well, actually, you determine your goals first, and then your objectives, and then the tasks. Determine your start and finish dates, and you can either work from the start date to the finish date. In other words, I want to start on March 1st and continue on till March 15th. Or you can start with your finish date and work backward into when do I have to have this project started. Make sure you know who's responsible. Who is it that's going to have the ultimate responsibility for getting this done? Determine what are the resources that you have to have. Are you going to have extra money? Are you going to have 3 extra people temporarily or full-time? How are you going to do that? And then create a Gantt chart so it's very easy to see it. And the last thing, which most people don't think about, is monitor and adjust. In other words, monitor what you're doing, check it. It doesn't do any good to have this great action plan and then not follow through. And if everything isn't going the way it's supposed to, adjust it. Okay, so here's an example. We're going to move our office. Here's how we start. We're going to set a start date of the 1st of March to start finding a new location. And you can see that there are tasks underneath that. So I haven't assigned a responsible party or anything, and we figure it's going to cost us $5,000. One of the things that we have to do is sign a lease. How long is it going to take us? A day. When are we going to start it? On the 13th, and we're going to have it completed on the 13th. And John and Maria are the ones who are responsible for making sure that this lease gets signed. And out of the moving budget, we're going to take $5,000. That's for our first and month's last rent or whatever rent stuff we need. So this whole section you can see goes together. Find the real estate agent, view the properties, sign the lease, and get the new interior designed. We can create a Gantt chart. Now on this one, we've created a Gantt chart for every task that's here. Find the real estate agent, sell off our excess inventory, view our property, sign our lease, so that you can see exactly what has to be done within a certain amount of time. And notice here toward the bottom that we've got a big gap, and that allows for any problems that we have along the way. We can also do it just by the major issues that have to be done, like finding the new location, preparing to leave the old location, those kinds of things. It can be done either way. What needs to be done? Gather the resources to get your strategy implemented. We're going to do a strategy of differentiated customer service. What resources are we going to be able to have to do that? Well, maybe we need an IT system that will allow us to look stuff up by customer name or offer rewards cards or whatever it is. So we have to gather those resources together. If we don't have the capabilities and the competencies to completely do this, then we have to build them. Write the policies, write the procedures, get together whatever teams you need to get this stuff instituted. Adopt whatever best practices and quality control you're going to need to be able to make sure this strategy is going to work. Best practice says that if you return it, you don't have to have a receipt, and as long as it's a product that we sell, we'll take it back. Quality control, we can do customer service satisfaction cards, check our email. We can have a place on the email for people to do things, check our ratings online, whatever quality control we're going to do. Establish our information technology systems. These are the systems that will help it make it easier for us to do whatever strategy we're going to do, in our case, customer service. So what can we do? We can look you up by your name or your phone number or whatever. We can check to see when you purchase something. Think My Lowe's. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but I can put in, anything that I'm doing to my house, and they'll keep track of it for me. Instill your corporate culture. Remember, your corporate culture and your best practices, and your policies and procedures all need to go together. If your corporate culture is not exactly what you want it to be, you're going to have to start changing it. It's a long process. Do it right. Do it the first time. Get it done so it aligns with your strategy. And exercise strong leadership. Don't be wishy-washy. If you're going to do this, do it, and do what it's going to take to get it done right. The number one reason that a strategy fails, the selection of a strategy, is poor implementation. That's it. That's what screws up most businesses. Oh, they come up with this great strategy and a good business model, and then they never really implement it correctly. And that is the end of chapter 12 and the end of the strategic management lectures.